Hello out there. Welcome, everybody. I am Daniel. I am a story coach here at Autocrit, one of the instructors, and I'm going to facilitate this wonderful challenge that we have going on the month of October, which is our prep for a little known event you might know next month we have coming up, where a lot of you are going to be writing a book in a month or something to that effect, right? So we thought that since a lot of you are thinking about trying to be more productive, speed up your writing, and since a lot of writers have ended up coining the term Preptober for October, we thought a competition, a series of warm ups is really a better way of putting it, to get us ready for November would work really well and be a lot of fun for the whole community. Not to mention, I know a lot of you out there are probably what you might call pantsers or discovery writers. You just kind of fly by the seat of your pants. You just run right into a work and come up with a hook and go full blazes into a burning building, as it were. And that's great, but sometimes you'll find, especially if you're trying to accomplish a big goal like writing a whole book in a month, you will find some pitfalls. You'll find some issues where you'll get stuck. And so we're trying to help you kind of get ahead of it. But no matter what you're doing, whether or not you are participating and trying to write a book in November, or you're just trying to become a better writer, learning how to do some pre-writing exercises is really to the benefit of anybody. Well, really, a benefit of everybody. Now, before we go ahead and get started in all of these things, I just want to know from you. Excuse me, I'm a little congested today. I just wanted to know from you, are you somebody who does any pre-writing currently, or are you somebody who actually doesn't do it at all? So feel free. I'm curious where we're at. For those of you who are just joining us and you're like, what is all of this? The pre-writing Palooza is going to be a series of challenges that we're going to give the audience. We are going to challenge them to work on their pre-writing skills with a series of fun events. We have one coming up today. It's going to be a little bit different than previous challenges in that we're not just going to have one big challenge that takes place over the month. There will be little tasks to do along the way. And this is definitely going to be about all the fun and learning we're going to do, although we certainly are going to recommend you sharing your results with the community. And even on here, we're going to have some live feedback on here of your prep work. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It is free to join. You do not have to be an AutoCrit member in order to join. And I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to give you that link if you would like to join. The reason you want to join is because it makes you eligible for prizes at the very end. This is not going to be a judged contest. This is again, it'll be about what we learn along the way, but because we know everybody is going to be working hard, participating, we want to give you some prizes. It's always good to have incentive, right? And so we're going to have a grab bag of prizes coming up at the end, including a lot of spots at our upcoming event in November, which I will be revealing a little bit later on. I'm just looking at your comments here of whether or not you tend to rewrite or not. So let's take a look at what everybody is saying here. Pre-write backstories, only pre-write is thinking. You do pre-writing. It's your first year for NaNo, National Novel Writing Month. Pants are all the way. You do research. You do a combination. You do pre-writing. You've been starting projects for years and getting overwhelmed and you stopped. Well, pre-writing can help with that, and we'll have other tools to help you with that as well. We're going to be leading you along the way as National Novel Writing Month gets started next month. Sometimes you're a pantser, sometimes you're a plantser, sometimes you're a planner. Interesting. I'm curious which way you thought works the best. You want to be a pantser, but you end up writing about 5 pages, then you get stuck. You have to do a full outline. Yeah, there are some people that just do not work well unless they have a plan. It's like, I could just do so much, and you get the analysis paralysis. I mean, generally what I think tends to hold people up is either the analysis paralysis when you're planning, in which case everything is very abstract and it's very high level and it's kind of hard to pin anything down for some people. And so they just get stuck until like they get into the weeds, they can't even think. And then there's the other people that, unless they have that kind of high level satellite view about where they're going, they do not know where they're going. Like they're stuck. There's too many options and they have analysis paralysis about that. What is a pantster? Some people will say that they combine plotting and pantsing. Pantsing is a term just to fly by the seat of your pants, is where it comes from. And it's for people that don't have a plan going into a book. Some people call them discovery writers. George R. Martin calls them gardeners. It's kind of a nicer term, right? And some people kind of put it together and they say, oh, I do a little bit of planning and a little bit of plotting, and that's how I navigate. There's really no right answer as an artist. However, it's always planter. Yes, that's often how people say it. But it's always worth it to practice pre-writing because pre-writing can be very helpful. So yes, we're going to have weekly challenges throughout, and we're going to be focusing on the different things that you can pre-write. Now, we've had challenges before, which is completely like writing an entire beat sheet or world building or character building. We've done a little bit of this already. The point of these challenges is really going to be for anybody who struggles with pre-writing at all. And if you're good at pre-writing, it hopefully will make your pre-writing better. But we're trying to stay at a pretty high level. So don't worry. If you're the kind of person you're like, I never plan at all, I pants everything, I think you're going to enjoy these challenges nonetheless because we're not going to box you in too much. I promise. Now, when it comes to plotting versus pantsing, I've already been talking about this. There's a lot of different schools of thought as to what is better to do versus one or the other, right? Some people are you never can plot. Some people are you never can pants. And like I said, it really is going to be rather specific to the person. Generally, it has to do with how you process information. Are you somebody who's very analytical? You might be more of a plotter. Are you somebody who's a little bit more go with the flow? You might be more of a pantser, but that's just a high level. The biggest thing that it can help you with is getting more productive and spending less time staring at a blank screen. And that's what we always would love to do, to actually get some words on the page. So, to start things off this week, we're going to talk about main characters and pre-writing for main characters. It makes a lot of sense for you to think about your characters, of course, before you get started. In fact, main characters are often the main reason we want to write a book anyway. We often start with a character. J.K. Rowling famously started the whole Harry Potter series just thinking of a boy going to wizarding school for the first time, and it came like a fully formed image of a character, and she went with that. So of course, characters matter. Characters are center. I often say, and I do believe this is true, that characters are the most important thing in a book, particularly nowadays, any sort of narrative fiction. Because it is our window into the world. It is how we're going to relate to things. So therefore, I think it's important to not just stay at a superficial high level with your main character. I think it's important for you to take a deeper dive into your main character. Now, we have a great resource for this inside the writing desk in AutoCrit. And if you've never been in AutoCrit in our system, this is something that is available for anybody at any level. This is even available as something if you're a free member, which if you've signed up for the challenge, you can become a free member and then you can sign in. You will have access to this workspace, the writing desk. And if you look in the upper right hand corner, you will see this little gold icon, which is our note card system. By the way, just in general, that is a fantastic feature to have because you can make all of these notes and then you can use this as your workspace, type it all up. You can export it, to a file and tweak the formatting and put it up on Amazon or whatever it is you're going to do with it, send it to an agent. But in the meantime, you have a workspace with all of this note card system, and this is just available for you, right? There's no cost to utilize it. It's a fantastic tool. So anyway, but particularly, I'm going to point out the fact that not only can you make little note cards of whatever you want, so I could just say, the main character has freckles or something, and then I have that, and then I'll remember. But actually, we have a little template for you to use. So if you go to Add Note Board, and then you go to the character creator, you can say character. I might even call it, let's say the protagonist. Let's say his protagonist name is David. People often say my name is David, even though it's Daniel. Okay, so now it's populated in here. And if we make it a little bit bigger, if we expand it, you will see there's a lot of options here. And this is a whole list of things that you can fill out and you can think about, right? You may not need to know all of these things when you get started, like, what do they like to eat? Or what kind of music they like, or things like that. But these are great questions to ask yourself about it. I particularly like the pairings, right? It's like, are they more inclined to be this way or this way or this way or this way? It's just a nice little way to trigger some thoughts about the character. Again, so it's not so superficial. You might have a character that has a very compelling hook. It's like, whatever, they're a fairy who flies on butterflies or something. I don't know. And that's a cool hook in a sense. It's a mermaid who sings beautifully and lures sailors to their death. Okay, that's a cool main character. Quite an anti-hero in a sense. But that doesn't necessarily tell me too much about them personally, right? And so it's good if you know those things, because it gives you options and makes it possible to brainstorm and think about what the character is going to be doing later on. All right. So for your challenge, obviously you could go in here and you could fill all this out, but this is quite a lengthy form. I wanted to make it a little simpler for you and highlight some of the key pieces of those characters, right? Some of the key, like the main elements of a main character. What I really think, if everybody knew before they started putting some words to the page, it would help make their writing a whole lot better. So to that, I came up with center. Yes, since your main character is the center of the story, we are going to talk about the center of since the character is the main character of the story, I'm going to talk about the center character, which is the main character, and we are going to do a center exercise for your main character. This is our first challenge. So this is what you need to do. We're going to use this acronym center, and in the next week, okay, between now and next session, I want you to write down your thoughts about your main character as we go through this acronym. Now, we're also going to have an opportunity for you to share this in the community. So if you're an AutoCrit Pro member, I'm going to put a link in the chat, and I'll put it again later. And you can submit it in there. And I'm going to go in there and I'll pull some out. We'll talk about it live next week. But also, if you're just here live as part of the challenge, please come up with this, and then next week you can throw it in the chat, and we'll start next week looking at what we have uncovered doing this little exercise. Okay, so what is centered? Well, we'll start with the letter C. Catalyst. Yes. What is the catalyst for your main character? What motivates them? We generally don't just go through life going through the motions, right? We are oriented around something. Now, for some of you who have been following me for some time, this is old hat. I'm always talking about character motivation, but that's because, this is the central question. There's a reason why when actors are going to a director, it's like, what's my motivation, right? Or a director will have actors literally write out their motivation, if you're directing people on the stage. It's because it's the center of everything. So at the center of the center, the C in the center is catalyst. What motivates the main character? I'm going to simplify this for you. Generally, people in a story are centered around one of these three things: external power, money, wealth, that kind of thing, right? Status, relationships, or meaning. So, one of those 3 things is the main focus of the character, at least for the purpose of the story. This is incredibly important because it's going to tie into the next part of the acronym, but it's also going to be that driving force. It's just the fuel for your character the entire time. And so they might be the cool, they might be the best whatever spy in the world and super tough and amazing and nothing sticks to them, but that's not necessarily going to tell me very much about them as a person. But why do they do it? Why are they a spy? Why are they even bothering with any of this, right? Something is in the center of them. So the C in center, catalyst, think about that. All right, the next one here, Endgame. This is like, so therefore what? They ultimately have a end game in mind. Like, what is a winning state for the main character? So they have a motivation. So let's imagine that it is relationship, right? So it could be that they want somebody to fall in love with them, in which case the end game is, well, they're in a relationship with that person, right? It could be that their main thing is status. I really want the world to notice me, in which case the end game for them, the perfect state is some sort of notoriety. And there's usually some way to actually define that, etc., etc. And so, this again is something that's important. Now, this is not the same thing as us deciding what the end is. You don't have to know if they get what they want in the end, and they can even change their mind about what they want along the way. This is just to start out with. They have a motivation. What is the ultimate culmination of that motivation? What's their end game? All right, let's move on. That's C and E. N, noteworthy. What's kind of the it factor for this character? What makes this character different than others? What is what are people, what would make them stand out in a lineup, right? Why would they why would you notice them? It could be something about their appearance. It could be something quirky about them. I talked about, a fairy that rides butterflies. That's noteworthy. Often this one's not too hard to come up with because this is often where we're starting. This one usually kind of falls in line, right? Noteworthy is the hook, right? What's interesting about this person? Okay. Let's move on. So we have Catalyst, Endgame, Noteworthy, and now Talent. And this could fall into sort of in line with Noteworthy, but particularly what I want to get at is what are they skilled at? It may not even be what makes them interesting, right? Some people are skilled in things that they're not noteworthy in. For example, you could have really good emotional intelligence. You could be really good at reading a room. You could be really good at persuasion. You may not be noteworthy for it. Nobody might even really recognize that. They might think about it. It's just they but they have it, right? And so it's what they're good at, because we need to know what they're good at, because this should not affect the ultimate problem of the story too much. Because if they're too capable of what the story is about, well, then you have a story without a lot of conflict. So generally, we want to know what they're very good at, and then we're only going to let them do that so much. They certainly should do it as part of the story. We don't want to just completely rob them of all their abilities, although that can be a fun hook of a story, right? What if somebody who's really, really good at something can't do it? Sure. But this is something to keep in mind before you even start to put words on the page. What are they really great at? How capable are they? You could end up with a character that is overly capable. If your ultimate thing is like, well, they're just kind of good at everything. Well, that's not a very interesting person or a very realistic person, right? And you can end up with what some people call the Mary Sue, the over capable person. There's not enough conflict and it gets very dull. All right, let's move on. So we have Catalyst, Endgame, Noteworthiness, Noteworthy, Talent. What's the next one? Emotional Wound. Yes. This is their vulnerability. What is the thing in life that holds them back? Right? Nobody is perfect. We are all flawed. people. All personalities are flawed. You could even have an emotional wound being there is no emotion, like a robot, right? That would be something like that. It's an apathy. But there is something going on with this character that holds them back emotionally. Is it they are they don't have a lot of self confidence, and you don't even have to come up with why that's the case, right? If you don't want to do that much pre-writing, but sometimes you can kind of go down a little bit of a rabbit hole, and that can be fun to do. And then you have it. Again, if you build a note card like in the writer's desk, right? You can have it. You can have it off to the side while you're writing, and it's wonderful. And it's something to constantly reference. It also gives you a chance for conflict later because a lot of stories, they're going to face this emotional wound. We're going to make them deal with it because we like to make people suffer. All right. So the next one, so we have Catalyst, Endgame, Noteworthy, Emotional Wound, and finally, Recoil. What makes them recoil? The reason why we need to know this, what's that trigger, is for one, consistency, right? But we need to know what they fear. Partly because generally we're going to make them face this. We're going to make them face the thing that they walk away from the most. And so it's nice to know what it is. Now, again, we don't have to know at this point how they're going to face it, how we're going to integrate that, but we can think about, what are the sorts of things. And the thing about a recoil is based on everything we've built up to this point, it should naturally sort of just flow. Pretty much everything builds on itself, right? If you start with the motivation, that leads you to what they ultimately want. And then that leads you to and then you have the tools that they're probably going to use to get there, right? So you have what makes them special, what makes them talented. And then you have the things that are going to hurt them along the way. And then finally you have what holds them back. Maybe this is why they haven't gotten to that end game in the first place, right? Can the recoil and the emotional wound be connected or should they be different? Yeah, they would be connected often, right? Somebody who is very has a lack of self-esteem might recoil from events where there are a lot of people, right? Or they're going to be judged. So they may just never finish anything, right? They may have a fear of finishing. So the emotional wound is kind of like their state. The recoil is, you know, um, what they fear the most, as it were. Somebody is going to ask if this is going to be posted. Yes, it will be posted inside the AutoCrit community. In that thread I mentioned, I'm going to do it again. I just didn't want to give it away just yet. So it's going to go here. I'm going to post it right as soon as it's over. And I'm also going to post it in the chat. There it is. It might look a little bit strange because chat tend to move it around. But okay, so somebody said, they have a phobia of nuns. Well, that's probably because of some emotional wound, because of something that happened, et cetera, right? And so, yeah, exactly. Indiana Jones' fear of snakes. Exactly, right? And I would say Indiana Jones's fear of snakes is not directly connected to like an emotional wound. That seems like more like a traumatic event as a kid. Because if you want to talk about like an emotional wound for Indiana Jones, I would say you could talk about maybe like a lack of trust or the sense that he is maybe not quite as capable as he would like to be. Things like that. Rules could be a trigger. Yes. Rulers could be a trigger. Yes. Authority. Having to face authority could be the recoil, right? In which case, you could have somebody who has an end game of wanting to achieve some sort of, yes, not a Tigger, as in Winnie the Pooh's friend. I knew what you meant. Um, but yes, rules could be a trigger because somebody might have an issue following guidelines because of restriction and wanting freedom, or rulers could be a trigger in terms of not wanting to face up. I mean, the recoil could be anything. People fear absolutely anything. This is an example I use a lot, and I apologize if you're bored with it, but the whole point of Dancing with the Stars is that people who are really good at something have to face something they're not particularly great at, and that's the whole conflict. And so you could say in that situation, the fact that the people would recoil from dancing is really the whole point, right? Because if they didn't, well, they would be very good at it, and they don't start very good at it. See? All right. That being said, we have so much coming up in here in AutoCrit around November. The biggest thing I want to talk about is Full Throttle, the 30-day novel. We have a fantastic course set for you in November. So after all this prep is done, after all these weeks, you can join us for a 30-day program where we're going to hold your hand as you handle National Novel Writing Month, or you just decide to write a book in 30 days, or you can write as many days as you want, but it leads you through the whole process of planning and writing a book. So if you would like to join us, we actually have a really great early bird offer right now that runs until Sunday. And it's pretty amazing. Okay, so this is going to be 5 Wednesday sessions, 4 Monday accountability sessions, and it's going to be only $30. That's like $1 a day. It's a pretty spectacular deal. So if you've never taken anything with AutoCrypt before, I can tell you, you're not going to see another thing like this anytime soon. So this is a great opportunity for you to join us and join the community, get involved. When you get involved with the 30-day novel, you will have full access to everything at AutoCrit, including our clubs and our writing desk. And that will happen immediately right now if you got involved in the early birds. So I mean, you'd be getting like a whole extra month of AutoCrit on top of it for $3. So it's a pretty amazing deal. I mean, we have some lifers in here. They can tell you AutoCrit is amazing. And speaking of some of the amazing things going on in AutoCrit, we also have our fantasy club this evening where I am going to be reading from one of my books. And you have a chance to critique me for the first time ever. I know. Turnabout is fair play. But I'm going to be pulling one of my books from the mothballs. And yes, you can rip me up as much as you want. But actually, I'm considering the situation I was in at the time, and I've learned a lot since then. It's not that bad, but it'll be interesting. At least I don't think it's that bad. Maybe you will. We will find out. I don't think so. I look so nervous. I'm really not that nervous. All right. Ooh, sorry, I've got my curtain. Tomorrow, Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, we're going to have our horror club with Gareth. We have our accountability club all the time. Every week, I mean, Mondays at 11 a.m. Eastern, and our mystery club. Join these very what do you want to say, inconspicuous agents, and it will be at 8:30 p.m. All of these clubs, like I said, are included if you get this early bird offer, so you could do all of these weeks of clubs leading up to it. It's an amazing deal, and it's going to be a really fun event in November. But in the meantime, let's go back here. I want to make sure I restate the challenge for the week. The challenge for the week again is to center yourself around your main character. So, what I need from you in the next week is your main character's catalyst, what inspires them, the end game, what that inspiration is ultimately going to end up at, right? Pretty obvious. Noteworthy, what makes them distinct? Talent, what are they really good at? Emotional wound, what sort of thing happened in their past, or what sort of way that they process the world holds them back? And recoil, what are they holding back from? What kind of things keep them in their couch? These are the things that I think are super helpful to know. I certainly hope that no matter, like I said, whether you're a planner or you're a pantser, you're going to find these exercises extremely helpful. And yeah, so we will see you around. Where are you posting? If you're an AutoCrit Pro member, you can post in the thread that I'm posting in the chat. If you're not an AutoCrit Pro member, just hold on to those ideas. And right first thing next week when we start this live stream, I will be asking the audience for what they worked on, and we'll talk about it a little bit before we go into next week's challenge, which will be a whole another set of guidelines. The deadline is next week because that's when we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to have another challenge. So you got a week. I would probably try not to give myself more than a few days because I don't, it might just fall off your radar and then you won't have anything. It's always better to have something. Is this video recorded? It is. All of these videos will be recorded and they will be immediately available on YouTube as soon as YouTube processes them, basically, because we stream live and then YouTube starts to process. Somebody is asking, where is create a character? I'm assuming you mean within the AutoCrit writer's desk. So I am going to go ahead and show you that. If you're in the writer's desk, and again, you all have access to the writer's desk as a free member, we have a free forever level, and everything I'm showing you is available in the free forever level. In the upper right-hand corner, see that little yellow sticky note? That is our note card system, which again is available to you. Hold on, I lost my mouse. And you're going to want to go to add a note board. It's in the upper right there. And then you're going to want to add a note board from template. And you can see there, it says character creator. And look, there's my curtain again. Pay no attention to the man in front of the curtain. And so you would name the board whatever it is. So maybe it's David. I am stuck on David right now. And then it'll create a little note for you. By the way, you have a lot of flexibility on what you do with this. If you don't want it to be green, you can change the color. You can make a Y. You can make all your characters a single color. You can do your world building different things. You can export it as a file. You could look at it full screen. You have so many different options. You can even throw in a picture if you want to, generate. I know a lot of people are generating character pictures and with like AI and stuff like that. Yeah, sure. Go ahead and insert the picture. And all of that will live, like I said, on the side of your document. If you save the document, your note cards will remain connected to your document. And of course, you can also extract them out of your document, whatever you would like to do. But that's all within the writer's desk, and that is all available for you as a free member. So go ahead and check that out. And you can start to prepare your workspace for National Novel Writing Month. Yes, I will. I apologize. Somebody was commenting on my cough. That's very nice of you. I apologize for my my cough. It's not a major thing. We've just had a change of weather where it got a little bit cold, and so I got a little congested. That's all it is. No worries. Shut up and dance with me. I apologize. I did not mean to do that. All right. Well, thank you so very much. This is a great question. It has workshops at 7 p.m. Would you consider holding earlier ones? We might if we get a lot of people asking us for it, right? Because it's all based on demand. We know that a lot of people, of course, have day jobs, and we're trying to work around the fact that we have an East Coast, West Coast time zone just in the United States alone. But we do know that we are international. We have people in Hawaii, we have people in Europe, we have people in Asia, So if you would like another time, let us know, because if we do hear that enough, so I can tell you where to do that. Hold on here. Go and click on the little bubble right here, and then we will start gathering that information. And if we get enough requests, we certainly will look into that. Because as long as we have people showing up, I mean, I love talking to even just a couple people, but obviously we do a lot of live streams, we do a lot of classes, so we have to be careful about how we use our time. All right. So thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to see what you do by centering yourself on the main character. Please post in the community if you're not a Crypt Pro member. Please join us next week and share all of your results, because I'm looking forward to seeing it and talking about it. And yeah, we will see you around AutoCrit. Goodbye, everybody. You have a wonderful week.